All right, we're here with civil disagreements with Brett and Jason. So, Jason, we're going to talk a little bit about Facebook coin, so Libra versus Bitcoin today. I think yesterday I texted you and I said Mark Zuckerberg and them at Facebook, they're geniuses for coming up with this. And you sent me an LOL. Why do you think they're not geniuses for doing this? Why were you laughing at me?
Well, we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, there's a lot of different aspects at play, but basically, I think what was behind the LOL was me thinking this is just going to be another centralized coin that ultimately won't be able to compete with a pure cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. And this is what I've predicted to you for a couple months now, which was that there was the Bitcoin bubble, which happened a year and a half ago. And then there's going to be a corporate crypto bubble. And this is going to include ideas like Libra, as well as IBM's coin, Stronghold. And there's a plethora of them. Ripple's another good example of these like corporate crypto coins, which aren't decentralized. But as I researched Libra, I realized that maybe digital assets are just going to have different attributes which will fill market needs, and Libra might be able to do that, and it's actually pretty exciting. So I'm glad we got a chance to research it for a day.
Yeah, I think this is it's super exciting, and maybe we should preface this a little bit to say that we're all just trying to figure this out. So we're hoping we can have a conversation like this, have a civil disagreement, and figure this topic out together, because it's very complex, and predicting the future is near impossible a lot of times, especially when you're talking about how technology is going to work. So we're just trying to figure this out with everybody else. I think
just to pile on you for a second, a little bit more. So Facebook's just come out with this white paper about this concept, and it's gotten all this press, and they're going to have a lot of roadblocks to success, whereas a project like Bitcoin has been in the works for a decade.
Yeah. So the only thing I would say, I guess, is one, you're talking about the centralization argument, and the white paper that they released for Facebook's Libra coin, I think, was really interesting. And they're talking about how over time it's going to be somewhat decentralized just due to the number of partners that are going to be on the committee running the association that is running this coin. And so inherently they're trying to decentralize it by bringing in different partners in that have immense expertise. And this is where I think they're going to have a little bit of a leg up, because I view this, honestly, I was thinking about this morning. Apple didn't create the first MP3 player. They just created one that works a heck of a lot better than anybody else's. They didn't create the first, smartphone. BlackBerry was there, Palm Pilot was there, but then somebody had to come in like Apple to pull all the things that suck about Palm Pilot or BlackBerry and make it that much better. And I feel like we've had 10 years plus of watching how cryptocurrency works. And through the white paper with Libra, they talk about the problems with traditional blockchain, or at least the Bitcoin blockchain, how slow it is. And I feel like this is a moment where we can see all of the problems, and especially these partners can see all of the problems with it and make it that much better. They can become essentially the iPhone of cryptocurrency to some extent. So you look at, they brought in all of these players. They brought in MasterCard, PayPal, Stripe, Visa to sit on the board, along with eBay, Lyft, Vodafone. And then they have a huge number of venture capital people that they've brought in that are the biggest names in tech venture capital: Andreessen Horowitz, Union Square Ventures. So they have all of these people and entities that are going to sit on this board. And one thing that they're talking about is over time, over a 5-year period of time, making it permissionless. Instead, at the beginning, it's going to be permissioned, but going to a permissionless system over the course of 5 years. And it's going to be decentralized in the fact that, Facebook isn't really going to necessarily be the be-all end-all controller of this. They're just going to be one of many of these humongous companies. I mean, when you talk about PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, that are bar none the experts at making this kind of technology work, making the number of transactions work. Man, I don't know how they lose to a large extent. I think when you look at the number of users that Facebook has, this is where I really think that they're geniuses to me. Is I was always wondering, God, how are they going to capitalize on, all of the users that they have? The CEO of Libra, David Marcus, said yesterday, Facebook has 2.7 billion users. Just think about that for a second. Across all of its platforms, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp is so used dramatically overseas and internationally. I was always like, how are they going to monetize all of those users? And coming out with this cryptocurrency just seems to be the brilliant way to monetize Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, how people are actually doing peer-to-peer transactions. What's that now?
Do you remember Facebook credits?
Vaguely. Remind me.
Vaguely. 4 years ago, they launched Facebook credits, something like that, to monetize Facebook and allow you to play social games and use their Facebook credits for anything through Facebook, trying to branch off. And it 4 years later, you can't even remember it.
Yeah, I mean,
looking into Facebook and their new coin, and no one's talking about Facebook credits. So they've got a white paper. I agree, it's exciting, but think about some of the pitfalls they might engage in, like regulation. How do you think government's going to want to respond to an international currency that's better than their fiat currency of their country?
Yeah.
And then we're not just talking.
But you can go with that with Bitcoin too. So we've had that discussion about how would a government react with Bitcoin. I mean, technically a government could shut it down.
That's why Bitcoin ultimately, I believe, will be superior.
But a government could also shut down Bitcoin inside their country to a large extent as well.
It's more difficult.
Yeah. So I think the regulation end is definitely true. And Maxine Waters, chair of the House Financial Services Committee, was already talking about how we need to look into this.
Maxine's on the prowl.
And I think, so there's two arguments that I think I heard that addresses this. To one extent, Facebook's already covering themselves by saying, well, we're only one of many on this association that's going to be running this. So right off the bat, they're putting this as a separate entity that they're only one of many members on. So there won't be any commingling of user data, privacy information on transactions. So they're already kind of covering themselves
with our privacy. Good one. That's good.
So, yeah, no, I think they're going to have hurdles as far as that goes. But it's, with the amount of expertise in the different members of the association, I think they're setting themselves up to, they have 2.7 billion users on their platforms already. That's a humongous percentage of the world already using them. And if this is successful, there's only going to be more people probably joining WhatsApp to, have part of this wallet. Now, they also said that other wallets will exist to store this currency also. So two things on the regulation, though, is one, if you think about it, this almost deflects from the privacy issue because if that many people are going to trust them with transactions, that almost shows people that hey, we are a trusted source. Look at, we have 2.7 billion people potentially trusting us to transact with us. So Jim Cramer said yesterday he thought it was like a brilliant shield against that. The other thing too, Jerome Lanier, I don't know if you know him. He's a big never Facebook or delete Facebook guy, a big tech person, that commentator. He said this is the first time that Facebook is treating its users as customers instead of the advertisers as customers. So this is a point where Facebook will actually be on the side of its users being its customers, as opposed to treating its users as, the product. Exactly. So it's almost like a shift for them product wise.
I think overall it's going to be a bridge towards decentralized finance. As cryptocurrencies have worked and developed different attributes and have tried to grow, I think Libra is an exciting advancement to that push to digitalize currency. I think it's inevitable. I think it sounds like, and I'm not an expert here, but we're on the cusp of a 5G revolution.
Yeah, there's different people saying that might take 2 or 3 years to really come true, but yeah, that's coming.
And so what that's going to do is just an exponential productivity advancement. And so to have a digital form of currency where I'm hung up with the Facebook idea is this kind of dystopian surveillance system of combining your online profile with your financial records. And they're trying to assuage that with this Libra.
Libra, yeah.
Is what they've done. They basically, let me scroll up here. They've created three, as I understand it, they've created three aspects to Libra. Libra is going to be a stable coin, which basically means it's not decentralized. It means it's pegged to something. In the case of IBM's coin, they pegged it to the US dollar. I think Libra is making a much better decision to peg it to multiple fiat currencies. But there are a lot of ramifications to that. And what I think that does is it just furthers Bitcoin's mission to be this digital gold. That is, its value is dependent upon itself. Whereas Libra, if there is a financial crisis, it's going to hit Libra just as hard. So there's a differentiation. In addition,
I think that works in Libra's favor, though, because if you look at
for its role.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about digital gold, and when people use that term, you have to have a store of value in order for it to be digital gold. So where what it is. We just saw Bitcoin drop from 20,000 down to below 4,000 in the matter of months.
Because there was an excitement bubble.
Sure. But doesn't that tell you that a lot of people are only buying Bitcoin because they think it's going to go up? And they're only selling it because they think it's going to go down, not because they're saying, oh, I want to hold my money in a store of value. If you wanted to do that, you would much rather hold it in a basket of currencies backed up by assets guaranteed by a number of the biggest central banks in the world.
Okay, again, my point is that there are going to be different roles for these digital assets. And if you look at who Libra's partners are, they're predominantly payment systems. Whereas if you look at, for example, Ripple's partners, they're predominantly banks. Okay, and so they're going to have different roles. Bank to bank, giant transfers, perhaps Ripple will be the digital currency of favor. Personal transactions, or Uber transactions, things like that have to do with you as a person. Maybe Libra is going to be the method of doing that. What they said they're focused on is international remittances, financial inclusion, and on-demand liquidity. I can say like the second one is not true. Financial inclusion. Maybe they do want to extend the finances to certain countries, but it's not going to be borderless.
Well, they're trying to bank the unbanked.
Right.
with that. So the people,
You're not gonna be using Libra in Iran. I can pretty much guarantee that, at least for the short term.
yeah, you might not be using Bitcoin in Iran either, though. So I don't know that,
That's the point of Bitcoin.
what's that?
That's the point of Bitcoin, is you can use it in Iran. You can use it anywhere. It's borderless.
Well, but you couldn't make transactions in Iran with Bitcoin.
Not maybe commercial transactions at the 7-Eleven.
So I think you make a good point in that, there's going to be different use cases, right? And Libra is all about making transactions. In fact, they're probably going to want you to make the most number of transactions possible. They want you to pay for coffee with with your Libra. They want you to.
As 5G goes, it's going to be machine-to-machine connections, and they'll probably try to get into that as well.
Yeah. So here's the thing: like Visa, Mastercard, they're all making money every time somebody transacts, and they get the small little fee there in order to facilitate that transaction. With Libra, that's exactly what they want to do. Is they want you buying coffee with it. You don't really go buy coffee with Bitcoin. Yes, there's places where you could do that, but it's very cumbersome. You basically change it out of Bitcoin into dollars immediately afterwards, or whoever is on the back end of that, coffee transaction.
To launch Libra?
Say that again.
You know when they plan to launch Libra?
They say early next year. Yeah, so they got some time.
Would you like to place a wager on that, Brett?
With the wager on whether they launch or not? Well, I think they'll launch.
Early 2020.
Just FYI, I think you need to come a little closer to the mic. Honestly, sometimes it's hard to hear you, and it's even our little thing isn't popping over when you talk sometimes. So,
is that any better?
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry about that.
So we want to bet on whether they launch or not. That's what you want to bet on.
They said they're going to launch in early 2020, right?
That's what they're saying. Yeah.
You're so bullish about this. I love it. Tell me, do you think they're going to launch in early 2020? Would you be willing to put any money on that?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, so they're just saying the first half of 2020, so that could be up to June, July. So
I'll give you to June, July.
Okay. I mean, what do you want to bet? I mean, I think they'll launch. They could launch in a small scale way. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to launch.
Here's what I understand, right? You've got Libra investment token, and you've got Calibra.
Calibra is the company.
It's the regulated entity. That's right, with a strong privacy commitment.
Yeah, it's the company that holds the association underneath it. Libra will be the actual blockchain cryptocurrency.
Yeah. So as I understand it, Facebook created Calibra, a regulated subsidiary, to ensure separation between social and financial data, and to build and operate services on its behalf on top of the Libra network. That's from CNET. Then you've got the Libra investment token, which, unlike Libra, the token is an investment security. And this is only for an exclusive audience that will get proportional clout in how Libra is developed.
Yeah.
This is for what they've said is institutional investors and running Facebook nodes eventually.
Yeah, the people that are spending money to create this, basically, is what I believe.
Yeah, and again, I think what concerns me about being bullish about Libra at this point is, what about the government regulations? And then, before we get ahead of ourselves with excitement about Facebook operating an international currency, what about a dystopian surveillance concerns, like political concerns? We see it on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook that people, for their political beliefs, are getting, what do they call it, shadow banned or deplatformed.
Yeah.
What about censorship issues, privacy concerns? they in addition to knowing everywhere you go, every phone call you do, every text you make, they're going to know every financial transaction you make.
Theoretically, that will be completely separate. They won't have any
Uh,
cross. So that's going to be a big challenge, is that skepticism that you have right there.
right,
And
that's their biggest hurdle for
yeah,
sure.
that's their biggest hurdle. And so,
You can adopt a system without thinking about these things.
well, I think they already have thought about it and they've already addressed it. Now, whether that sells with people
Just
like
jumped
yourself,
on Facebook, myself included, oblivious to the privacy concerns of doing something like that 10 years ago. And
yeah,
now you're seeing someone who like applies to Harvard University getting accepted to Harvard, and then their acceptance is rescinded because of something they said a few years ago on social media.
I agree. So, I think they've done the best they can to address those privacy concerns. The question is whether it will sell with people like you, you know,
Who's they?
Calibra, the company.
Libra, we just heard about this week. How have they done the best to address those concerns?
Well, in the white paper, they lay out, again, we've just talked about this, that they're one of many in the association that's going to control the decision making here. So it's not just Facebook controlling the currency. They're one of many in the association with their partners that will have a say on and a vote basically on how this is governed. And it's moving over time from a permission system to get it started to a permissionless system over the course of 5 years. So, I think that's the best. If they were going to create a corporate coin like this that was a worldwide coin, I mean, that's the best you can do, man. Like if you're one of these other companies like Ripple, like we don't even know, they're a new entity. They're not necessarily backed. Yeah, they have some banks backing them, et cetera. But you're going to have that privacy concern, and rightly so. You have it more so with Facebook. But I should probably run back a little bit too, because you said that I'm really bullish on it. That's not to say that I think
Well,
the coin's going to go up. I mean, it's not something that you can be bullish of. I think it will be well used and widely used over the course of 5 to 10 years. I think
geniuses.
I think they are. Yeah, I think they are geniuses to put this together in the manner that they have. And we'll see. Like I said, predictions are funny, and the world is very random. So they could fall on their face. But if they were gonna make this happen, I think they've done it in the most well thought out way that you possibly could do so. They're making it a medium of exchange, backed by an array of central banks' currencies, and actual assets that have intrinsic value, which blockchain or Bitcoin does not have. That's the big thing lacking, is you're just trusting that Bitcoin's value will be the same. And there may be, like you said, a use case, and Bitcoin probably will still maybe be with us forever, or the rest of our lives at least. So it's very likely that probably will continue to exist. But they're after the transactions, and they're after being a medium of exchange to facilitate the most number of transactions on everything from big to small things. And it's very interesting actually, because they have MasterCard and Visa on the board essentially as a member of the association, and they're kind of going to be undercutting MasterCard and Visa's business to a large extent. Now, it's smart of MasterCard and Visa.
Realize they're going to be obsolete.
That's exactly right. So they understand. So this is MasterCard and Visa's ability to say, hey, if we're going to be more obsolete in potentially 20 years, 30 years, let's at least have a stake in this so that we can, have some upside to it. Now, that also brings their expertise in to facilitate, I think Visa does 20,000 transactions per second, and Bitcoin's at like a paltry number. It's like a few hundred maybe. I saw that number recently, but one of Bitcoin's downfall is just the lack of scalability and the lack of speed that the blockchain disallows from a transaction load that size. So, I don't know. I think there may be a use case for both of them for sure, but it kind of makes me want to buy Facebook stock, honestly. And I did not.
That's a bad idea. I mean, we're not financial or whatever.
We're not financial advisors or whatever.
This is not
people will find out I love investing in stocks and I love following business news and that's all the rest. So, but I've shied away from owning Facebook really since all the Cambridge Analytica stuff came out, because I thought that they were just going to be drugged through the mud, which they have. But I wonder if that's all kind of priced into the stock at this point. But this news and reading the white paper really makes me think, wow, they could be creating the premier global currency that will be used all over the world for all types of transactions. I mean, China has this already with Alipay, I think is it WeChat, their currencies. I mean, those companies like Alibaba, they provide so many end-to-end use cases. So they're like kind of the Amazon, of China, but they also have their payments, Alipay, that you can pay through Alibaba, and Chinese are using that for everything, buying coffee, ride hailing, and Facebook could be creating the premier global currency backed by all the intrinsic value assets of the central banks that you would want to smooth out the value, so that that it's probably going to be more stable than the US dollar and more stable than the euro if it's, a basket of the dollar, the euro, the pound, the most stable currencies in the world that would smooth out the volatility of the currency. So it makes me want to buy Facebook, honestly, which, if you look at
yesterday, I think Facebook's up 44%. I haven't checked today.
For the year. Yeah, it's somewhere around there for the year, which kind of leads you to believe. There's a very smart guy, Scott Galloway, NYU professor, big tech commentator. On his podcast, he talks about how if they break up Facebook, or if they break up some of these other companies like Google, that it's going to unleash tremendous value out of these companies that are not priced into the stocks now. If they broke up Amazon and Amazon Web Services, you may have, tremendous value unlocked. So the stocks are going to go up over the next several months in anticipation that if that did happen, it would be a boon for shareholders. And, maybe Facebook stock has priced that in. And I think over the next year or two, if this cryptocurrency blows up, man, we could see a huge increase in Facebook's stock once people start to realize that in 5-10 years that there's going to be billions of people using their currency, Libra, in order to do every transaction imaginable. Any other predictions, Jason? So you think sell Libra, buy Bitcoin?
Well, I think Libra is going to have more hurdles than you might be anticipating. I think it's a gigantic endeavor. I think it makes me a little skeptical that they say they're going to launch in early 2020. I'd be willing to bet against that.
Should we wager on that? I'll put a wager with you on that.
What date?
We'll say July 1st.
What, June 30th?
All right, June 30th it is.
Okay, good deal.
$100?
$100.
All right, $100 it is.
Been recorded.
You heard it here. We got it recorded. So, any other last words?
Well, I would just say, there's what I would call a utopian crypto. What's the word I'm looking for? A group of believers in a vision of utopian cryptocurrency. They will call it pure crypto, and they'll be quick to say that Libra's not pure crypto. Andreas Antonopoulos, who's someone I like to go to for information about Bitcoin, says, there's 5 pillars of an open blockchain: that it's open, it's public, it's neutral, it's borderless, and it's censorship resistant. And that all stems from decentralization of control, which is a vital part of Bitcoin's mission and some other cryptocurrencies and perhaps their destiny. Libra won't be that.
Over time, it will become permissionless is the goal.
No, come on, you're misreading it. It's not permissionless right now for development. And the permissionlessness will be for developers to work on their new programming language. I forget what it's called, Move or something.
Yeah.
It's not permissionless, which also does not line up with open, public, neutral, borderless, censorship resistant. It's something else. It's entirely permissionless. Doesn't have to do with that. It just has to do with the development of code.
Okay.
For developers. So basically, what Libra means is that all your transactions will be monitored. It's all going to be part of a personalized database of your information as we all move forward into this brave new world. If Libra is successful, it's going to have access to hundreds of millions, maybe billions of users, which furthers Facebook's advancement as a gigantic data heavyweight. And how has Facebook's record been so far with that? It's been checkered at best. In addition, they're pegging it to government fiat. It will be interesting to see which governments they choose and all of the ramifications of that decision should this be successful. And is that even a good thing? Whereas Bitcoin doesn't do that. So it creates an alternative for that. And then the last thing I would just say about this is, again, I'm happy about this development. I think it's good for the world, hopefully. But I think Libra is going to hopefully thrust itself as the test pilot for politicians and government regulators as the paradigm shifts in this digital currency revolution. Ultimately, I think a currency like Bitcoin is superior. Right now, we'll see how Libra contends with it, and I would be bullish if I had to. I don't think it's a bad investment decision to invest in Bitcoin, to invest in Facebook based off of the white paper that we looked at and what I've read about it. It's an exciting move for Facebook, but it's also, I think they're going to be a test pilot, and I'm not bullish about their unrolling this early next year. I'd be shocked if they did. They want to have an Apple app and Android app for Libra. Let's see how governments deal with this new currency.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the things that make Bitcoin, liked by so many people and believed in by so many people will continue to exist. The fact that they are decentralized does hinder them in respect. So that's where you're seeing the splitting off of the Bitcoin blockchain. And so that's, the things that are cumbersome about Bitcoin is where, Libra will pick up the pieces in order to allow that cumbersome to be more fluid and be faster transactions. That's the biggest. Second thing is the amount of energy it takes to mine Bitcoin and create the new coins, as well as the cumbersomeness of the system. But Bitcoin, like I said, will still, I believe, continue to exist for the reasons that you're laying out. I think it's just, like you said, probably the best thing you said is, these are just different use cases that will have different uses for different reasons. And Bitcoin can certainly continue to, go up or be a store of value, at least around where it is now, probably for many years. I own a little bit of Bitcoin. I know you have in the past here and there, or maybe still do. So, it's fascinating to see. Any other last words before signing off?
Fun first video blog thingy.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's going to be a learning experience. and
Definitely.
this was a fun topic. I mean, I think it's going to be really exciting to see Libra, and I also think we should definitely return to this, and no doubt on July 1st.
We'll see. I'm gonna have you pay me in Libra
Yeah.
July 1st. Yeah. So with that being said, yeah, first fun video conversation. You know, if anybody's watching this, we'd love feedback too. So, this is civil disagreement. So the whole goal of this is just to try to have a conversation to figure out what the truth is, figure out what the right answer is and how to think about the world. So we're just here. We love doing that with each other and think we come to a better mindset and thinking about a lot of issues by having that disagreement or having a conversation about it. So leave us some comments. Let us know what we could do better, or let us know what you think about the topic, and that would be helpful for us. So, all right, signing off for Civil Disagreements.